Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Today's shiur is being sponsored by Tuvia Nesher in memory of our grandfather Avraham Simcha Halevi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows his full name. B'schus the continued growth of our brothers and sisters. I shouldn't read this really, but he paid for it. So the Rav seems to be seems to be answered by his viewers. Should Mashiach ben David watch this, please step forward. Okay, great. A bunch of litzanim out there. I don't know, it's not fitting into the screen anymore. Rabbi say, listen to this. This gives me a lot of simcha, a lot of nachas. I read an email, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't even remember when it was, from a dear friend of ours. His name is Zalman Simon. He wrote that he's about tshuva since the age of 13, and he made his first ever siyum with us. Now what's beautiful about that itself is beautiful. What's really beautiful is that two guys from our Chabura that didn't really know him before, but they're part of MDY Borough Park Flatbush, they came to the siyum to be mechazik. So I have a picture. Siyum of Simon Zellman. Here he is giving the siyum on Masechtas Brachas, his first siyum ever. He saved the last daf for his father's yahrzeit, and then he did Masechtas Shabbos with us. Here you go. You recognize this guy right over here? This is going to be his new screensaver. Here he goes. This is Eli Dykman with Yisrael Goldstein and Simon Zellman. So Yishkoyach, I'm hanging this up right next to me. It's going to be next to me the whole day. There we go. Because it's a tremendous chos. First siyum ever. And the mishpacha getting together. Rabbi Yisai over Shabbos, first to start Erev Shabbos, Leon Welcher from South Africa calls me up and says, listen, you have to start giving a chumash shiur the same way you give the daf shiur with the charts and this and that. And then once you're done with that, then you have to do Navi and also Mishnah Brura. So I try to explain to him how, I can't even do what I'm doing right now. I'm behind on my 8-minute shiur. I come to Shul, the parking lot. No, I'm fixed. Eli, listen, we're thinking about it. We think you should give another shiur, a little bit Mishnah Brura, a little Chumash. Motzei Shabbos, I get this email. Dear Rebelli, I have a feeling if you took a poll, at least 9 out of 10 people would love for you to give a weekly Chumash shiur. We all recognize how busy you are, as well as now we know how much time must be spent to even make a 1-minute video. However, we would all gain tremendously. However, if we had just a glimpse of what you say over the Shabbos table, you don't want to know what I say, and throwing in some heavy mussar from time to time wouldn't hurt us either. Please seriously consider the request. Ma'aseh Shahaya, this Shabbos, you want to know what happened at the Shabbos table? I said over Reb Shimshon Pincus how davening is so chashuv that a guy came to him and said, I don't have children, what should I do? So Reb Shimshon Pincus tells him, come to me at 2 a.m. So the guy shows up at 2 a.m, he says, get in my car. He takes him in the car in the highway, he says, get out in the middle of the highway. He says, here. I want you to go into the woods, daven your heart out. I'm coming back in a half hour. Half hour comes by, Shimshon Pincus picks the guy up. He looks at him, he says, that's davening? Get out, go back. Another half hour, I need you to cry, not just daven. He came back a half hour later, and he sees that the guy is full of tears, his eyes are red. He says, oh, that's tefillah. That is tefillah. And I was telling my mishpacha that Reb Shimshon Pincus, the famous Reb Shimshon Pincus, he unfortunately was killed in a car accident, and his wife died, his child died, and his daughter came to Chicago. So after, my wife is like, maybe that's why, because he takes people at 2 o'clock in the morning when he's tired. A half hour later, I asked my 10-year-old, I said, what was the message that you heard from Reb Shimshon Pincus? He says that you're not supposed to drive a car when you're tired. That's what he heard. I'm not kidding you. That's the only thing he heard. Fine. So, you don't want to hear my Shabbos Torah. Please seriously consider this request. And by the way, That story goes into my book, and 9 months later, v'chulu. It's much needed, a guaranteed expand the mishpacha. Please seriously consider this request. It's much needed, and it's a guarantee to expand our mishpacha. At the minimum, please let us vote if you think I'm completely wrong. Have a good Shabbos, Elchanan Pressman. I'm not making this up, Noam. This is a real email. Zok Tehilim Gemara. We are holding where we need to hold, but we really need a nace, nigla, to finish what we have here. It's a pretty large daf. So that's why cut down on those emails, go right into it. Today's daf is daf Yudalid. Now, someone told me, I have no idea who, but when we started Eruvin, somebody mentioned that daf Yudalid is pi, because it's the third Masechta in Shas, 3.14. Okay, so you remember that, pi, because we're going to discuss pi today. I think that's what he said. I have no idea. This was in the beginning of Masechta, which is, for me, is years ago. And I told him to remind me, but of course, he didn't remember. Says the Gemara, Lilu Nishmas Rus Bas Mordechai. And by the way, if you want to hear a real classic daf, if you missed last night's daf, you got to go on and watch it. It's a beautiful, beautiful daf, one of a kind. And we really needed it in the middle of that whole Eruvin and then Lechis. But here we are back to Eruvin. Not for long. Daf Yudches, a lot of fun all over again. Tefach, but this is fun in its own way. Tefach umechza. Tefach umechza boing. So, we learned yesterday, as we were rushing through the last Mishnah, the last lines on Amud Beis, we were already an hour into the Shiur, having all that fun. If you have, your kaira is a tefach wide, that's kosher, because it could carry a brick that's 1.5 tefach wide. Ask the Gemara, tefach umechza boing. How's that going to help me? It's not wide enough to hold a brick that's 1.5. Says the Gemara, Kivin the Rachav lekabel tefach, ido chetzi tefach malben le betina, mashu ma'giso. All you need to do is put a little cement on the side. I stole illegally a picture from Kol HaLashon. I spoke to them on Friday. They're going to get back to me. So other people are getting to. They give this out for free to Magid Shiurim. They want everybody to have it for free. But I don't know if I have reshus to put it on the videos. But I guess I can show it. Why not? It's my house. Here's the brick. I don't know if you can see. There's a piece going down over here. You see this? So you add a little cement on this side and it holds up the brick. You have to add it? No, you don't have to add it. The Ritva says you have to, but most Rishonim hold you don't. It means you could theoretically secure it with a little bit of cement. So, as the Mishnah said, the kaira, the crossbeam on your mavi has to be really strong. It's there for a hecker, so it can't just be a string. It has to be strong enough that it could hold a brick, a half a brick. A riach is a half a brick is 3 by 3, so a half a brick is 1.5 by 3. The poles holding up the beam, they don't have to be very strong. It's only the beam itself has to be strong. Rashi explains immediately. Don't ask crazy questions here. The kaira itself only has to hold a brick, but the ma'amidim, those that hold up the kaira, have to hold a kaira and a brick. Although the Lashon says they both have to hold a kaira and a brick. Well, a kaira doesn't have to hold a kaira. A kaira is a kaira, it only has to hold up a brick. Fine. But Rav Chizda argues and he says that the poles, whatever's holding the kaira, also has to be very strong to be able to hold a kaira plus a brick. And the Tanna Kamma says, no, you don't have to. Why? Because the kaira is there for you to recognize that you're leaving the mob. It has to be a certain thickness, a certain strength. So the side posts are not important now. It's only the actual kaira. What if, this is a very interesting halacha, everybody could take something out from it. If you want to be super from, more than halacha, well, listen, we always learn that you're supposed to go the extra mile. You go the extra mile to learn more, to do more chesed. But a guy wants to do more kaira, more kaira. Like every 15 inches he's going to put a kaira. That's a crazy machmer, right? That's not halacha. So this guy, he takes a mat and he wraps it over the kaira. Here, picture, also stolen. I have to announce that this is stolen from Kol Lashon. But I have to admit, they have the nicest pictures. I mean, if you look at the detail, the guy has a barbecue and a table. What else does he have here? Yeah, literally a barbecue going on here and hanging laundry right over here in the corner. It's beautiful stuff. So he takes a mat, wraps it over his kaira, and it doesn't reach the bottom though. Obviously, because he wants to leave. He wants to get out of there. Too much frumkeit, you get nothing. Zero. You're left without a kaira, you're left without a mechitza. Kaira inkan, why don't you have a kaira? Damikasya. He covered it. It's not noticeable. Mechitza inkan, the havi la mechitza, shagdoyim boikimba. And this we had many times. You have it in the famous Mishnah in Sukkah. If a gdi, otherwise known as a cat, or in the time of the Mishnah was the young goat, could get into your sukkah. I guess they had these goats running around like we have cats today. They had goats. So if it can't prevent a goat from coming to your sukkah or your wherever it is, your chatzar, then you're not providing a proper wall. So if it's less than 3, we say lavud. If it's more than 3, you don't say anything. Even according to Madam, we're going to see according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel that says you say lavud. On even 4, up to 4, over here, a gedi is a proper. Because physically it's not providing you any kind of privacy. Don't have a picture for it, but it's very simple. You have a kaira that doesn't reach the other wall. It goes from one wall, doesn't reach the other. Kol Alashon has every single line has a beautiful picture, if you want to look at it. Or I could go with my fingers. You don't need Kol Alashon. 2 kairas meet up in the middle, but they don't touch each other. So, famous halacha, pachas mishloisha, if it's less than 3 tfachim, then you say lavud, ein tzarach lavi kaira acheres, you don't have to do another one. Shloisha, if they're distance from each other, 3, tzarach lavi kaira acheres, you need another one. So over here we're talking about high up, there are no goats or anything, so Reb Shimon Gamliel, again with his halacha, that you say lavud all the way up to 4 tfachim, so you have up to 4 tfachim to do lavud. Arba tzarach lavi kaira acheres. V'chein shtei kairos hamasimois. 2 kairos that are very thin, but they're right next to each other. Can you match up kairos? Could you put 2 kairos together? Avigdor, is it your birthday today? Mazel tov, Hebrew birthday. Those are the ikr. Give us brachas, give us some brachas. You could scream it out in your car. We'll all be mekabel. V'chein shtei kairos hamasimois lo bezu kedei lekabel riach lo bezu kedei lekabel riach. Each one is too weak on its own. They can't do, but you make a couple together. They create. If put both of them together, they add up to be a tefach. Great. 2 of them together. So what if they slice down the middle? They both together could hold a half a brick, which is 1.5 by 3. 1.5 fits on a 1 tefach area, and it's good. Picture. So even if you separate them slightly, you see over here, they're not touching. There's a gap between the 2. But if they can hold 3 tfachim, then you put it on the side, and basically it could hold a brick. That's 3 tfachim. Even though each one by itself is less than a tefach. Picture time. If you have one kaira above the other. Seems from Rashi like this picture is kind of correct. Although in Kol Shon it has it differently. I don't know why. In Kol Shon it seemed like they were one directly above the other. Over here they're slightly offset and down. So this guy is lower than the top guy, but he's also pushed in that way. In other words, I'm gonna use halacha Moshe Sinai of good achis mechitzta, of chavoit, whatever you want to call it. Rabbi Chanal brings these l'shaynas. I'm not making it up. You could bring it down halachically. So once you bring it down, but they have to be next to each other. You don't want to bring it down one on top of each other. You want to bring them down next to each other. So that maybe that's why this picture is pretty accurate. They are, if you would lower this guy to meet up with this guy, then they would be side by side, and that's the halach that we said before, that side by side is great. You do a royin in the Mishnah, as we said, you pretend, and like I said, Rabbi Chanan says even more than pretend. It's halacha Moshe Sinai now. It's not, we're going to say that if he's using straw, it's as if he's using metal. Over here, you invoke the halacha of chavayt, you bring it down, or good achas mechitzta, you bring it down. Well, provided that you make sure that either one of them should not be in an area that's puzzle. Over 20 amas is puzzle. So I can't do chavayt. If my entire kaira is at 21 amas, I don't say chavayt, bring it down. You have to physically bring it down. So if one of my kairas is at 20 amas, perfect, and the other one is at 21, I can't say chavayt and let's match them up to under 20. You can't use chavayt to bring it into a makom heter. The same thing, if it's below 10 tfachim, which we said is pasul, I don't say good asik with a kuf at the end. There's good achis and there's good asik. You don't asik it, you don't bring it up out of a makom psul. Amar Abaya, Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda, Savala Kavua Bechada. Rabbi Yosi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda from our Mishnah that we learned last night, holds like his father in one. The whole idea of Ryan, let's pretend. If you have something that's a little bit off, you could pretend, and we're going to go into it. He holds that halacha, that idea. He argues on his own father in one thing. He holds like his father in one area, Islay Ryan. The idea of let's pretend, let's see it as if. And he argues with him on one. The famous Rabbi Yehuda, the first Mishnah of Eruvin. What if you have a kaira that's above 20 amas? Says Rabbi Yehuda, don't worry about it. How high could it be? 40 amas, one shita, 50 amas, 100 amas. But he just said, Rabbi Yossi just said that if the kaira is a little bit above 20, you don't do chavayt, you don't do royin. In other words, Rabbi Yossi holds, the son of Rabbi Yehuda holds, that above 20 is possible, not like his father. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ruchav Hava B'Shein Brio. So it says in the Mishnah, even though Rabbi Yehuda holds, even though the kaira is not healthy, it's not strong, we do the thing called royin. So even though it's paper thin, I pretend it's made out of steel, out of metal. Now, I got an email a few days ago from Sonny Halawani from Brooklyn Party Rental. He asked me, who told you, where does it say that Rav Yehuda was Reb Chia's tutor? I said that once in Shiur. So here you go again. I don't know for sure. I'm just assuming. I don't know. Look what it says. Masni li Rav Yehuda l'chia. We had it in Daf Amud Beis. We had it again later on. And now we have another time. Masni li Rav Yehuda l'chia bar Rav kamei de Rav. Rav Yehuda is teaching Chia, the son of Rav. Rav the Galadar, Rav Yehuda, the famous Rav Yehuda that always quotes Rav and Shmuel. Here he is. I guess if you're Rav, you have the option. You take your best Talmud, you take Rav Yehuda, teach my son Chia. Here he is again, teaching him. And of course, if you're the Galadar, you're going to walk by, you're not going to just let the guy teach your kid. Not the guy, Chas Shalom. Rav Yehuda teach your son. He walks by, makes sure that everything's good, that he's teaching him well. Now, in the first Mishnah of our Masechta, he corrected it big time. Once again, he corrects him again. Now, Rav Yehuda didn't make a mistake in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah of the Masechta. Rav Yehuda just quoted exactly like we read in the Mishnah. And so too over here. Just Rav says, listen, I have a different gears in the Mishnah. What did he teach him? Rechava afal b'shein brio. In other words, in Rabbi Yehuda, he taught him that if it's wide, it doesn't have to be strong. Omar lei Asnayi rechava ubriya. I need it to be Garis, the exact opposite. That it has to be strong. In other words, very important. In other words, Rav doesn't believe, Taisus goes into it, Rav doesn't think that Rabbi Yehuda believes in this whole idea of Ryan. He erases everything in Ryan. Now there's 3 cases of Ryan in the Mishnah, 3, 4, gone. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold the, or Taisus says, perhaps Rav switched it up. Rabbi Yehuda is the Tanakama, and the Tanakama holds Ryan. But Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold Ryan. But anyway, at any point, Rav is telling Rabbi Yehuda, don't read that to my son Chia. Tell Chia, Reb Chia, that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of Ryan. In other words, the beam has to be strong. You can't pretend it's metal when it's not metal. It has to be nice and thick that it could hold a brick. V'omar Rabbi Eloi, Omar Rav. Oh, Rabbi Eloi says in the name of Rav, who just said that don't be goyresid, Rechava Arba, Afal Bishayin Abriyo. Well, the answer is kind of in the question itself. When you're reading the question, you see the answer. But what's the question? The question is, Rav says that if a koyer is 4 tfachim, it doesn't have to be very strong. So the Gemara says, yeah, because it's 4 tfachim. Rechav arba shani. Why is 4 tfachim different? Well, we said it many times during the Masechta, 4 tfachim is the makam hashim. You could also do pi tikra yoyer v'saisim. The edge of the 4 tfachim, since it's so hashim, it could come down and close off the area. Or you can learn that it's a tremendous hecker. We have something this wide, 4 tfachim, in the middle of your mavoi. You're going to notice it. It's just as good as flashing lights or anything like that. So Amela, 4 tfachim, don't ask any questions from 4 tfachim. Rav says that has to be really strong because it's less than 4 tfachim. Hoises shakash. So in the Mishnah, it tells you, not according to Rav, but according to the way we read the Mishnah, that Rabbi Yehuda says that if it has to be strong enough, and if it's not strong enough, you pretend it's strong. And if it's made out of straw, you pretend that it's not straw, that it's metal. Right? Those are the 2 writings in the beginning of the Mishnah. Then it goes on to say, if it's crooked, you pretend it's straight. And if it's round, if it's a nice round piece of wood, and a brick can't stand on a piece of wood that's round or fall off, you pretend that it's cut in the center. Those are the 4 writings. Ask the Gemara, but the 2 first ones are identical. If it's not strong, pretend that it's strong. And if it's made out of straw, pretend that it's strong. Those are identical. They're both not strong, and you're pretending that they're strong. Says the Gemara, Michael Mashman, what are you telling me? That you could say the concept of let's view it as if? They're the same exact case. I would think that when it comes to wood, you have a thin sliver of wood. So pretend that wood is thick. But when it comes to straw is never strong. Straw is inherently a weak product. So how can you pretend that straw is strong? You don't have it's never strong. Kamashmal that you pretend that this straw is metal straw. Says the Gemara, once again, if you have, let's say you take a branch and it bends in the middle, like branches do, they're not always perfectly straight, and it bends, so I pretend that it's not bent. In other words, I have an issue here. How can I put my brick on it? Some Rishonim say you have to put bricks throughout the whole thing. How can I put bricks? It's all bent, it's crooked. Says the Gemara, you say Ryan. Pshita. What's the chiddush? Mashman kedur b'zeira, damar b'zeira, hi b'tei chamavoi, v'akim misa chutz mavoi. Chamsa tells a major chiddush. What if the bent part leaves the mavoi? It bends outside, it makes a circle here. By the way, once again, I have no idea why my Gemara brings this picture of bent, when my Gemara itself brings what it should be, this, bent. I don't know. Somebody that works there should tell me. You see what's going on here? It's circular. It's a semicircle. Okay, you get the idea. So this is perfect because it's popping out of the mavoi. The circle goes outside of the mavoi the radius is outside of the outside of the mavoi. What if it bends above 20? It's right at the 10 tefach level, very low, and it goes below, it dips below. Depends. If it's a huge bend, then you're stuck. But what if you snip off the bend, and between the two poles that you're left, between the kaira and the kaira, you're left with less than 3 tvachim. So I could say lavad, they're attached. In other words, it's a tiny little bend, it's less than 3 tvachim. Says the Gemara, Nami Pshito. That's the concept of lavad. If you're going to snip it away, and you're going to have less than 3 tvachim, lavad. Oh, but this is a big chiddush. Why? Because your bend is leaving the mother, going into Rishus Harabim. That's a very a huge concern. If your kaira takes you outside into Rishus Harabim, you might think that halachically you're allowed to go wherever the kaira is, and you might walk into Rishus Harabim. Kamash or not? It's mamish a big chiddush. Says the Gemara, if you have this, a nice circle which a brick can't stand on it, so you square it out, you cut it down the middle, you could just get rid of the top part. Let's say now you have a nice flat surface to put your brick. Again, it's a concept of Ryan. I see it as if it's flat. Why do I need a fourth case? Says the Gemara, the last line. The final line in the Mishnah tells us a concept. If I could measure the circumference to be 3 tefachim, then I know that the diameter is 1 tefach. Ask the Gemara, how do I know this? Now, as soon as I saw this, and I'm very happy to say that my question and answer are in the Taisa Rosh. What do you mean, mili? Where do you know this? Take a measuring tape and do the math yourself. Go around 3 tefachim, and then you'll see that the diameter is, if you have 3 tefachim in the circumference, your diameter is 1 tefach. Says the Gemara, no. Says the Taisa Rosh, beautiful. That if you do the math, it's a little bit more. Pi. It doesn't work out beautifully. 1 doesn't equal 3 in circumference. So minani mili, that the Chachamim have the right to say, just use a tefach, let's round it off to the nearest number, and you're good to go. Minani mili, so that I know, from Shlomo Melech, or Rabbi Yochanan Makro, Vayasis Hayom Mutzak. So Shlomo Melech made a mikvah called Yam Shel Shlomo, also a very famous sefer, Yam Shel Shlomo. So the Kohanim could be toivel. Massive mikvah, says the Gemara. It says in the pasuk, Eser ba'ama misvasai. It was 10 amos by 10 amos. How tall was it? Ad svasai ogol saviv. Now it says mufurish in the pasuk ogol. It was round. But let's talk about square for a second. It was 10 by 10. V'chamish ba'ama kaimasai, and it was 5 amos tall. Total, what do we have here? 10 by 10 is 100 square amos. By 500 square amos. Says the Gemara, says the pasuk, v'kav shloishim ba'ama, yosov oisoi saviv. The circumference, 30 amos. So we see that if you have 10 amos diameter, the circumference is going to be 30 amos. It says in the pasuk. So 1 equals 3 in the circumference. 10 equals 30 in the circumference. Now, Rabbi Schoenberg reminded me, I knew about this guy, but I didn't know it well, and he was kind enough to write it for me. Beautiful, amazing Vilna Gaon. Now, I could appreciate this more than anyone here, because my secular education is up to 5th grade. So think about the Vilna Gaon who also never went to school, and he understood this. Listen to this. It says in the pasuk, "V'chamesh ba'ama koima v'kav." You see how it says here v'kav? This is how it says it in the Torah, but we read it v'kav without a hey. Says the Vilna Gaon, kav with a hey is 111. Kav without a hey, 106. And then what does it say? Shloishim ba'ama. Listen to this math. 111 divided by 106 equals 1.047. Okay? Times 30. Shloishim ba'ama. So if you take this word divided by this word times this word, 30, equals, you're not going to believe it, pi to the fourth decimal, 3.1415. Do the math, you'll see. Vilna Gaon never went to school. Genius. The man was a genius. Vikav. In other words, he's telling us, why did the Torah all of a sudden write the word kav? We all know kav is kuf vav. All of a sudden the Torah writes it kuf vav hey. And it says on the side of your chumash, but you read it kuf vav, not kuf vav hey. It's not vikavoy, it's kav. Anyway, look into it, it's beautiful. Says the Gemara of Eikas Fasai. That's great math. 10 by it's 10 by 10 and the circumference is 30. But that includes the edge. And the inside was 10. So what's going on here? Says the Gemara, because Fasai, Omer Papa, Fasai Sfas Perach Shoshin Ksibei. It was a nothing. It started out wide, but it ended up to the size of a petal of a flower. Nothing. The Siva of Tevach was Fasai Kemasi Kois Perach Shoshan. It says in the pasuk, Perach Shoshan. Apayim Bas Yachal, we're going to get to these words, 2,000, it contained 2,000 bases. A bas is a measurement. Says the Gemara Bekamashu. But at the end of the day, you have to figure that mashu. And that mashu adds up to something. You're not going to be exact that 1 is the diameter equals 3 in the circumference when it's 3 point something. The mashu you have to. Says the Gemara, they measured the inside of the mikvah. That's where they measured. And that was exactly 30 amas in diameter. So now we're just going to go into a little bit of Gemara calculation that Shlomo Melech's mikvah held 150 mikvahs. So if you think of a mikvah in our day is 200 gallons approximately, like a refrigerator box, it held 150 refrigerator boxes, pretty large. We know a mikvah is 40 saw. Now we're turning to Daf Amud Beis, sponsored by Asher for Lilu Nishmas Rosa Bas Ben Yomin, and he says, "Make it a great day." And by Dr. Alan Listhouse, Lilu Nishmas Mordechai Yosef Ben Aret. We're going to get quicker at it by the time the month is over. You should be in the main mikvah. Kol b'star, we had this Gemara already. Your entire body should be inside the water. What is it? How much is it? 3 square amos is 40 saw. 1 by 1 by 3. 3 square amos equals 40 saw. So now I know 1 by 1 by 3, 3 square amos equals 40 saw. Now, Shlomo Melech's mikvah is 500 square amos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 10 by 10, 500. Okay, next. Litlas Mea. Now the Gemara does Gemara calculations for people like myself. So he breaks it down into 2 parts to make it easy. Let's take 300. We'll do the cheshbon of 300 and then 200. 300 is very, very easy. Why? Because 1 mikvah is 3 square amos. So how much is 300 square amos? 100 mikvahs. 100 times 3, 300. So 300, let's put aside 100 mikvahs. Now, 150 square amos equals 50 mikvahs. 150 divided by 3 is 50. So now I'm up to the amount of 150. The problem is we only counted 450 amos and not 500 as the Gemara. If you're going to divide 500 by 3, that's 166. So why did the Gemara say it's 150 mikvahs? Says the Gemara, this is square. But Shlomo Melech didn't make a square, he made a circle. So, if you take a square let's talk about a circle. We just spoke about a circle. You take a circle, the diameter, it's a 1 amma diameter circle. From here to here, so what's the circumference? 3. Fit that circle in a square, 1 by 1 by 1 square. So your outside area is 4 amos, where the circle is 3 amos. Yeah? Nachamo. A circle, we said, the diameter from here to here is 1 amma. That means the circumference is 3 amos. Fit that exact circle into a square, which is 1 amma by 1 amma. So the outside area of the square is 4 amos. If you're going to take a string and go like this, you're going to have 4. And if you take that string and go around the circle, it's only 3. In other words, the square is larger than the circle by 25%. So if Shlomo HaMelech's mikvah is a circle, but it's 10 by 10, so it's 25% less than 500. How much is that? So the Gemara does Gemara math, takes it in pieces. 25%. So if you take 400, chop off 25% of 400, you just remove the 100. What are you left with? 300. How many mikvahs fit in 300? 100. Because each mikvah is 3. 3 times 100 is 300. So if you start off with 400, you have to chop off 25% because of the circle. Bam. Next, what are you left with? 200. Right? Because we're dealing with 200 square amas, but it's a circle. So now, so we started off with 400. Now we're left with 100. 100, chop off 25% from 100, you're left with 75. How many mikvahs fit in 75? 25. So we have a little bit of a problem. We had 100 mikvahs from 400 amma, and we have 25 mikvahs from the leftover 100 amma. Total 125, but we said it's 150. Ooh, it's a problem. It's 125, not 150. Says the Gemara, great. Just to make it fun, it starts off square on the bottom. That square, which is 3 by 10 by 10, equals 100 mikvahs. That's 300 square amma. 300 square amma. What are we left with? 200 amma on the top. 200, take off 25% from 2 amas, from 200. What are you left with? 150. 200 minus 25%, 150. How many mikvahs fit in 150? 3 divided by 150 is 50. So total of 150 mikvahs. Says the Gemara, but who told you to make a mikvah like this? Who told you that's such a mikvah? I know it was round, but who told you how much round? Maybe 1 am on top. You can't flip it over on its. You can't start off with round and go to square. This was the Agol Ksiv because it says in the pasuk that the edge was round. But who told you? Maybe only 1 am on the top. Can't be. It says that the mikvah could hold 2,000 bas. Whatever this bas is, right? Bas kamahavia, shalisoyin. Each bas equals 3 saw. Again, remember, a mikvah is 40 saw. A bas is 3 saw. And if Shlomo HaMelech's mikvah held 2,000 bases, so it's 3 times 2,000, which is 6,000 saw. How many saw? How many mikvahs? A mikvah is 40 saw. How many 40 go into 6,000? 150. Meiser. How much is Meiser? 10%. 10 is 10% of a kur. How much is a kur? 30 saw. 10% of 30 is 3. So we know that a bas is 3 saw. It's 6,000 saw. And therefore, if you divide 6,000 saw by 40 mikvahs, you come out with 150 mikvahs. Wait a minute. It says in the pasuk that there's 3,000 batim, not 2, not 6. So the Gemara Alu Gutsha. Sorry, not 2, not 2,000, 3,000. Alu Gutsha. So the Gemara, we had this a few times already in Shas, where we have to figure when you pile something up, you put wheat. How much is the gadosh over the top of your kli? Now you're going to ask me, what if I have a kli that's very, very narrow and extremely tall? It's 100 feet tall and 1 foot on the top. So you could only put a little bit. So how do you know that gadosh is always a third? It's always a third. In other words, it should have been 2,000 bas, but we give it another 1,000, which is a third, milibar, after the thing. So Rashi explains immediately, it has to be your typical kli that's similar to Shlomo HaMelech's mikvah. With Nanami, in other words, its width, its length, its width by its height. With Nanami, and we learned Shida Tevo Migdal Kaveris Hakash. Shida Tevo Migdal, we know what it is. These are all types of boxes. Here we had it in Shabbos, Shida, Teva, Umigdal. And the Kaveris Hakash in a basket made out of straw, the Kaveris Hakonim, Ubar Sfina, Alexandris. You go on a ship for long term, you need some fresh water. They didn't have these salinating devices or whatever it's called. So they had a nice big bar and they would put fresh water in there. Massive, massive bar. Even though it has a bottom, since it could hold 40 saw, belach. Listen to this. 40 saw liquid, shehem kurayim biyavish. What's a kur? A kur, we said before, is 30 saw. What's kurayim? 60 saw. So here the Gemara says, 40 in liquid equals 60 in solid. In other words, a third more. And what's the halacha? Tahirim. Since this kli is so large that it could hold 60 kur, 60 saw, therefore it's not mekabel tumah because it's not a kli. I cannot lift it. It has to be molev reikin, like a sack, that I could lift up a sack. I can't lift up a box that has 60 saw in it or 40 saw of liquid in it. It's impossible if you lift it. Not mekabel tumah, says the Mishnah. Done with that sugya. So we're very familiar with this. Of course, we discussed it numerous times. The two lechis that we said, Gavan Asara, Tfachim, Rechavim, V'avim Koshu. Now we explained already a number of times that when it says two, it doesn't really mean two lechis. It's referring to the lechis, plural. It's referring to one lechi. Yisrael, Shalom Aleichem. It's Yisrael Goldstein, but it's somebody else. Is that Yisrael? It is Yisrael. You're right over here. You see yourself? Okay, I gotta make sure not to. They have to be, a lechi must be 10 tfachim, but it could be as thin as you want. We're going to see, as thin as a thread. Rabbi Yossi argues, and we had that as well in Rebbe, that the width of a lechi should be 3 tefach. Says Gemara L'chayim Shomru Lemitnan Stomach Rabbi Lezer the Amar L'chayim being on. Remember in the Mishnah we had a machlekes Rabbi Lezer Chachamim. Rabbi Lezer says you need 2 lechis. Loi. Mar L'chayim da Alma, referring to the general rule of lechi, but indeed every mavi only needs 1 lechi, not 2. Yachi, great question. Karinami nisni kairos. So then why doesn't it say the general rule of kairos? It should be plural, just like lechi is plural. Says the Gemara, my kara is the alma, so it should be plural. Says the Gemara, we're not talking about in general the lechis of all the mavos. We're talking about that Mishnah over there. That there was a machlek between Rabbi Lezer Chachamim. How many lechis you need, 1 or 2? Those lechis you should know are 10 tefachim high and the kol shu width. But there's no machlekes in a kaira, so that lashon doesn't apply to a kaira. V'kama kol shu. I told you, I like when Rashi brings these words. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Kichut asarbol. Rashi says, coat. Sarbol is a coat. Tana. Also lechi lechatzi mavui, eiloi lechatzi mavui. Here's the case. You put a lechi midway down the mavui. Here's your mavui. You decided to put it over here. Where is it? Over here. See this line? It's wherever, somewhere in the mavoi. You could only use the back end of the mavoi where there's a lechi. Says the Gemara Pshita. Of course, I would never think that you could use the entire mavoi. Eloheima yesh lechatzi mavoi. You're right. The chiddush is that you could actually use half the mavoi. Not pshat that you can't use the other half. Of course you can't use the other half. That wasn't the havamina. That you could use that half. Why? You might come, you might forget, you might use the entire mavoi. Chumash malon, wherever your lechi is, up to that point, you can use. I'm not worried you're going to go further. What if he made a lechi and he raised it off the floor 3 tvachim? Sorry. Or he distanced it away from the kaisel 3 tvachim. Even according to Rishon Gamliel, it says you can do lavud all the way to 4 tvachim. Like we said before, when the kaira is messed up and they're not touching each other, you could do up to 4 tvachim. Since the goats or the cats could come underneath it, like Amar. Even Reb Shimon Gamliel doesn't hold that you say lavud to 4 tvachim because it's a physical problem. You don't have privacy. When animals come into your mavoi, that's not a real mechitza. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi, Amir Rachman, Shlosh tvachim. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Ein halacha Rabbi Yossi. The halacha does not go like Rabbi Yossi. Loi behilmei, v'loi b'lachayim. We had in Shabbos Daf Kuf Ches. Hilmei is a mishnah whether or not you're allowed to make salt water on Shabbos just enough for you to eat. Rabbi Yossi says you can never make any salt water at all. It's like tanning your hides. You can't do salt water. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi in these two places. Not when it comes to Hilmi, v'loi b'chayayim, that a lechi does not require 3 tfachim, even a kolshu. Now remember, the Rabbi Yosef was sick later on in his life, and he forgot his learning. His Talmidim used to remind him, and I said, I found it 9 times a Shas, but here's another one, because I did the wrong search. You can't search for all the different ways. Here it is. I said at least 10 times. Right away, another one. The what? He reminded him, it's not true. You didn't. You when you were healthy, you didn't tell us that Allah is not like him in 2 things. You only said Allah is not like him in 1 thing. Behilmi Amrslan. You said Allah is not like Rabbi Yossi in Shabbos. B'lochayim lo Amrslan. Maishna Behilmi says the Gemara, why is Allah not like Rabbi Yossi? The Pligi Rabban Alei. He's one against the many. We don't pass him like the Yachid. We pass him like Rabban. For the same reason that Allah shouldn't be like Rabbi Yossi over here, because everybody argues on him. Remember, in the whole sugya, we had it over and over. The chatzir tana that goes into the chatzir gdoila, and there's 3 tfachim on each side. Why 3 tzitzos? But each mechitza needs to be 3 tfachim like Rabbi Yossi. In other words, Rebbe, and that's how we pass him at the end, that Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yossi. So once Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yossi, the halacha will be like Rabbi Yossi. Rav Chumi Masna Hacha. Om Rabbi Yehuda Beredi Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas K'mishmei the Rav. Ein halacha Rabbi Yossi. Lo behilmi lo belachayim. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi in 2 things. Om Relei Amart. You really said it. Om Eluloi. I never said it. In other words, he retracted immediately. Om Arava Elikim. I swear. Amara. He did say it. Ugamir no laminei. And I learned it from him. My time come so why did he regret it? Rashi brings down and Gittin Daf Samach Zayin. They say all the milas, not all, a lot of milas of about 10 different Tanoim, and one of them is, it says over there that Mishnah's Rabbi Yaakov ben Eliezer ben Yaakov Kavnaki, the Allah is always, and Rabbi Akiva is Rameh was a chacham and a sofer like we had last night. It says about Rabbi Yossi. The halach is always like him. So therefore he took it back. Let's stop over here. I know it's in the middle of the sukkah, but we're late. What are we going to do? Rabbi, have a wonderful, wonderful day. נשמע אדוני מהמועיד שמחה סליחו למען תברא Sonny, you heard what I said during Shiur about your question? Where's Sonny? Sonny disappeared on me. You got it? So you asking that he's a tutor? A little bit of a tutor. I don't know, but you see that he taught him different things, different times. That's the idea. I don't know, tutor. Call whatever you want. His Rebbe, his tutor.
Have a great day, everybody. Sorry, gotta leave. We started by us already. Bye-bye.
Sei gesund. Reb Mendy Seawald, Shalom Aleichem. By us it's Sunday already, but Gevach to you, yeah, Gevach. Where are you located?
In Los Angeles.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Did you hear about our Siyum in Los Angeles?
No.
So Rabbi Ben Shushan, together with Harry Shalom and a bunch of other guys, they made a Siyum. The guys that finished with us. Masechet Shabbos is beautiful. So Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. Just last Sunday.
I've been with you since almost the beginning, but it's usually hard for me to catch the Shiur. I usually listen on YouTube, so once in a I try to hop around once in a while, like in a month of Shabbos.
Beautiful. So it's great to meet you. I don't recall seeing you, so it's great to meet you. Beautiful.
Did you see the message from David?
What's the message? Remind me.
I sent on.
Oh yeah. That he started. Refuah Shleim is working. Yeah, I saw Yishkoyach. Woman, is that you, Ephraim Sanzer? Is that you that I read last night?
Yeah, I guess so.
That was you. Wow. Put a face to the email. Face to the email.
I tried.
Shkoyach, appreciate it. I have to remember, what was it? Remind me again, what was the email?
On vacation in South Dakota.
Oh yeah, that's you. It doesn't look anything like you because you're not wearing the cap. Yeah. Okay, with your two girls. Beautiful.
One's a boy, one's a girl.
So what, how old are your oldest kids?
16.
Oh, because I was wondering, because you said that you want to be a role model and you tell them to learn and you this, but you in the picture you only have two little kids. I was like, okay. I understood that you had older kids from that. Yeah. Beautiful.
Banama is cube, not squared.
Cube. Oh, cube. Panovich.
That's great English. Great education,
That's right. Now, listen. It's not just 5th grade. Beis Yitzchak Skver, 5th grade. Okay? So if you do the math, it's about 2nd grade of Darchi Torah where I went to initially. Yeah. Thanks for fixing me in the middle of the Shiur. Thanks for letting me go the entire time. Yeah, I don't see anything on the screen. I can't see it. I probably could change where the chat goes on the screen. No, I could probably bring it to the top.
I think you need to make Menachem a co-host. Menachem's very happy to break.
Ooh.
Menachem Nata.
Oh, he loves it. He misses it. He doesn't know what to do with himself now.
Any people have been messaging me. Where's the pasuk? You didn't say the pasuk in the drive. They love that.
Oh, I forgot to save it.
When I did the video for the Siyum, instead of saying my title was Fill-in Makachir, was supposed to say Fill-in Interrupter.
Not interrupter, corrector. Corrector. It's different than interrupter. You know why? Because I did it the last second. Literally, it was printing at 7:08, so I forgot to save it.
Eli Shakar's Bailey now is 8:15.
Yeah, regular. Save it. Don't tell everybody. We go by Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu 8:30. I get off Zoom at 8:23 and I run. They think Shachar starts at 8:23. Don't tell anybody. What? What did you say? Really? No, listen. I'm not kidding. I was nisragish. You should know. It really meant a lot that you guys went and were mechazik the Simon guy. Baal Tshuva, first time ever making a siyum. You took time out of your day, went over there. It's a beautiful thing. Bam, it's a beautiful thing. Listen, Shmelka, I don't know what how come you didn't show up over there? What's going on with you?
He was upstate.
Ah, okay. We'll give him a pass. But gives a tremendous chizuk. Imagine the guy. I don't know how old he is, but he looks like he's 50 years old, right? How old?
55.
He's 55.
Yeah.
Is he on now? He's not on.
He was.
Okay, but look at this. 55 years old, making a scene for the first time.
You don't realize, Smoker and I, we had such a good schmooze with him.
Yeah, I know. That he wrote in his email that you guys schmoozed him up and you convinced him to write an email. But this is chashiv. This is very chashiv.
I said a story, and that's what triggered me to say his story.
Right. Oh yeah. You told me about this. Yeah.
I'm upset by not by choice. My daughter went. She's due any minute, so we came to babysit.
Hold on, you realize now with this whole MDY family where we're all over the place that you're going to announce the birth and there's going to be people from all over who are going to know what they're going to come. They're
going to be sending flowers, Shalom Zacher, candy, halavai.
I'm still trying to recoup. I'm still answering the name.
Eli, tomorrow morning you should make a fuss about Yeshua, the baby name. Make a big announcement. Make it like a big announcement at the beginning of this year.
I don't know if you noticed, today I was really, really short on time. I ran through the email, that, started a little earlier, and still didn't accomplish. It was just, I knew right away it's going to be one of those daf. Just the amount of pictures that we had here. The amount of stuff is crazy.
Carlos has like 25 pictures on his daf.
Yeah. But you can't do that. I can't show if I showed every picture, the show would be 4 hours long.
All right, let's cut to YouTube. I need to download it.
Oh, that's right, the YouTube. Completely forgot about the YouTube, guys.